Okay, I'm live.
Coming to you from Dynatrace Perform in Las Vegas, it's pure performance.
Hey everybody, we're back here. Oh, hey everybody, we're back here at Perform 2019 Dynatrace in Las Vegas.
Woohoo!
With Mark and James of Perpites, and of course, the one and only Henrik Rexid of Neotys.
Yeah. Hang on. I have effects. There's an applause and cheers. There we go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He walks on the stage like a rock star.
Yeah.
So, good to see you guys. It's been 1 year now since we saw each other.
1 year since you've been here
Yeah.
in Perform, almost exactly to the day.
Wow.
Exactly, which is really exciting.
A lot of things have happened since there.
Yeah, actually, it's really nice to see Neotys still like having a flourishing partnership with Dynatrace. So one of the things we'd like to do is get kind of an update on what's new and what you've been doing. You also had you did a hot day as well.
Yeah, so Andy, asked me for the opportunity to be part of the hot day, and I think thanks Andy for that. That's just a super opportunity for me.
Yeah, cool.
And I think we built a pretty cool stuff.
What'd you guys talk about?
Everything is about
Performance?
performance.
Gee, interesting
Jenkins.
enough, it's about performance.
Oh,
stuff.
some Jenkins integration stuff?
Yeah, everything, all the pipeline, how to manage load and performance testing in a really smart way in a pipeline using Dynatrace. I mean, Dynatrace has a lot of great features on that, and
Sure
I think a lot of load testing provide a lot of great features as well.
Yeah.
And I would say Neotys provide a lot of great features on that as well.
Of course.
Yeah.
So
But
with
two
those
great
features,
tastes that taste great together.
Who
Neoload
was
and Dynatrace.
Yeah, it's
Wasn't
like,
that Reese's Pieces?
Uh,
You got your peanut butter and my
well,
chocolate.
that would be
You got your
peanut butter
chocolate,
cups,
my
not
peanut-
pieces.
peanut
Reese's
butter.
Pieces-
That's Reese's peanut butter.
Reese's Pieces
Punner.
got their
It's
big
like a cocktail
hit with
you know, like
ET.
At the end of the day, you need refreshments.
Well,
Gin and tonic.
we are in the Cosmopolitan Hotel.
Oh, you could have a
Cranberry,
cosmopolitan
vodka.
drink. Yeah.
We can invite a cocktail called the Dynatrace Neoload, a refreshment drink.
Yes.
Yes.
Who was the Jason?
Oh,
was
I know
the
what we
guy.
could do. We could try to mix Chambord with Scotch and Schnapps. The three of those
Oh my
together,
gosh.
mixed together.
Just
Sure, it's
forget
going to taste.
So
little-
we need a French alcohol in that.
Oh, I thought Chambord was no.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
Sorry,
Chambord.
or cognac.
You do cognac?
Absinthe.
Armagnac? No, that's like wormwood from Greece.
I always thought absinthe was French. Well, I had a French friend who loved absinthe.
Anyway.
So, all right. Either way.
Anyway.
So,
So what did it show in the hot day? You guys were teaching, and you had the Neoload Dynatrace integration working in the pipeline, right?
Yeah, so Andy prepared. Every student has this OpenShift cluster where we automatically deployed a Dynatrace tenant, Jenkins pipeline with JMeter, so people can at least see how they can run load tests with JMeter.
With
Yeah.
some
And then at the
lowly
end, say,
little-
okay, you've been struggling a lot now. Let's see the easy peasy stuff. And so we did the other pipeline with Neotys.
Look at all this
Ah.
stuff that's just taken care of for you.
Yeah.
that was like he lobbed a ball up in the air, and all you had to do was swing the bat, and you're
It's
gonna
cool.
hit
It's an
it.
upsell.
Yeah.
I
So
like it.
basically, you can give that pipeline to your kids and basically consolidate the performance.
Hours of fun for the kids.
Are there? But are there some native things in Neoload you can tell us about that already work in pipelines or with technologies like OpenShift?
I mean, sure. I mean, first of all, we try to migrate all our components into containers. So I think now this day it doesn't make sense to have one load testing solution sitting in a server forever when you use it once a day or twice a day for a build.
Or for some people, once a month. You know.
Yeah. So I think it's more smarter to have like a spin up a container, do your stuff, and then once you don't need it, you just destroy it.
Right.
So I think that makes sense. And then of course we had the Jenkins integrations there. That makes sense, where you can do some trending graphs as well.
Yeah.
Um,
So it does more like with performance. It pulls back all the results and does some parsing and puts that back in the pipeline.
And I think the thing that we've just added, I don't know if all the community is aware of it. We introduced another way to design scenarios in our product.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
So we have this. Traditionally, we come from the UI level, so you have to record, do the design from the UI. And if I'm a developer, and you give me a UI tool in my hands, I say, it's going to take forever to build a scenario. So that's why we came up with the two different way to build scenarios. We have this. First, we have a JUnit library. So it's going to be a.
Oh.
So we have a POM. It's a variable in Maven Central.
Yep.
So you add the dependency, and then from there you can basically build scenarios, variables, your tests basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what the cool stuff is once the build starts, we're not going to run the test directly because obviously when you build a solution, you need to deploy that, and before you do any load test, there's a couple of preliminary checks to do that. So during the build of your solution, what we do, in fact, behind the scene, we build a project. So which means the developer code, and then later on, there's someone else in the organization say, "Hey, I want to use that test there."
Yeah.
And I have no coding skills. Hey, no problem. Just double click on the project. You get the project in UI, and you can do the changes.
Right.
So that's the first thing.
That's nice.
Yeah. And then the other thing we did is, if you have a development environment which is not Java-based, and pretty sure that developers that want to invest and learn and the Java skills, so that's why we have the other format, which is we call it the test as code. So it's a YAML description file. So either you could build one big YAML file with everything, the variables, the scenarios, populations, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Or you can build 4 different YAML files, one for your scenarios, one for the test that you want to run, the load policy you want to apply, and so on.
Okay.
So it brings a lot of it's quite flexible, and I think the great thing with the code approach is that it's hooked to your source control.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to change the load. It's basically one update, and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, this is the kind of stuff Andy's always talking about. Like with us, I mean, not that this is his idea, obviously, but we're always talking about doing everything as code, monitoring as code, testing as code. Now you have your scenarios as code, which is just really awesome because now anybody, well, not anybody, but anybody who has an idea of what we want to test can code up a scenario, check it in with the build.
So with
And
Andy, we have a dream, and
Yeah.
and one of the dream is why don't we put a standard? I mean, you at Dynatrace, you have this the notion of a performance signature file.
Yeah.
Where you define the mon spec, what you want to monitor, what will be the thresholds and stuff. And at the moment, we are doing something in parallel called anomaly detection files. It's a new thing that we include with the new version of integration. So basically, we are setting, we are learning the AI, what will be the SLA for the tests. So the AI basically will detect problems there. And at the moment, it's 2 different files. And now I think we want to merge everything. So there will be one standard file. And it will be quite cool that in that file, you got the mon spec, the SLAs definitions, but also the scenarios itself. So basically, one file that rules them all.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Of course. We go
It's
there.
good. It's a Lord of the Rings reference.
It is.
That's fantastic.
Now, before we go into the next thing, there's also some. Are you allowed to talk about some of the stuff? You recently went to Linz and worked with the lab and some Andy to try to start a new project.
Yep.
Are you allowed to talk about that yet, or give a hint at what?
I can expose the main objectives of this.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of the things is make the standard happening. The other thing is I don't know if people has been doing a lot of continuous testing. You do a build, you run a test, you start look at the training graphs, and then you say, oh, there's a regression, and you look at it and you spend time analyzing, and then at the end you say, oh, it's a deployment problem. Oh,
Yeah.
So basically, you were running a test, and the test basically you just lost 20 minutes or 10
It's a
minutes.
waste of
just for
time.
nothing.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I built something called the sanity check in your load.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this basically, before you do any load test after deployment, you run that sanity check. Neoload scans the entire architecture with the services, count the number of processes or containers,
Right.
and build like a picture of it. So it could be the baseline file.
Yep.
And so the next time you build, so that file needs to be pushed in your
Everything
repo.
should be there. Yeah.
And then the next time you build, the sanity check runs again, and he's going to say, okay, I'm going to take the picture, and I'm going to compare it to the baseline. And it says, oh, yesterday we had 3 containers. Today we have only 1 container. That's weird.
Right.
So we're going to break the pipeline.
So you
Or
could also get into
that's-
like the CMDB part to say what is actually deployed and by version. It's like every time I run, you should be going either on the new version or the next version. You could actually go back and say, I should have the new version, but somebody didn't push something or it didn't make it, or
that's
Did
a
you give me-
quite excellent thing. I have to add it.
yeah.
But
But no, I mean, it's not just what container is there, but what version is running in that container,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then is this worth? I already have a test result for that version. Do I need to run it again, or what has changed? What should have changed, and did it change?
And I
That's
think
free. No charge
some
for that
new
idea.
ideas.
Yeah.
And the other thing we do is imagine you have MSP 3 containers, and expected you have 3 containers, but the previous build you had, let's say, in total you were consuming 10% of CPU and maybe 10 megs of memory. By the next build you run it, suddenly you're consuming 70% of CPU after deployment.
And only 1 meg of memory.
And 1 gigs of memory or 1 meg, whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's weird. So basically we're going to fail the build as well.
Yep.
So I think it's basic stuff just to check that at least the environment seems normal.
Yeah.
Yep.
It avoid to run a test straight away without that check. I think it's a way to avoid losing time for nothing.
As part of your sanity, are you also asking, does it work for one? Pushing one user through the system just to see if it's SLA compliant before you actually ramp up the load.
So that's a good point. I will say the recommendation that we are in by using this is you deploy, and sometimes some apps need some few users to wake up.
A little warm up.
Yeah, like a warm up. So what we do is basically in the pipeline that we did yesterday in Hot Day, we had that study, so that's like a warm up script. So Nilo runs few iterations with one user just to warm up.
Yeah.
And then I run the sanity check.
Yeah. The warm up stuff I've done.
Process,
The warm up I've done, but I hadn't really done the comparative piece. That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
It's when I finished load testing that's when I came here.
In the
to
old
Dynatrace.
days. Once upon a time, Brian was a load tester.
Yes, I used to be one of you poor souls.
I once was a performance tester. Now I'm a performance engineer.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Just because they changed my title, but and I was a performance tester. That we didn't have this fancy performance engineer back when I was doing it. Everything was manual back then. Manual testing, everything, and it's seeing how this is all evolving in the time is just really, really amazing. And I imagine it's really exciting for all you, again, all your poor souls over on that side, to get to take advantage of all this, because it to me it would just make it much. You burn out, right? How many times are you going to be rewriting your tests, running these things? Now you have new things to play with, and of course it's going to bring the practice up higher. But just even personally to be doing these kind of things, it probably is just so much more exciting and fun to do again.
Yeah.
So
what else is new in the NeoLoad world?
The NeoLoad world, what we have in the integration, one of the things that happens in Dynatrace with the previous integration, I'm pretty sure if you're familiar with Dynatrace, if you do load tests, you need to set request attributes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So request attributes is a way to basically tag the traffic and be able to see it as a load testing traffic and not a real user traffic.
Yeah.
So you had to set the rules manually, and now what we're doing, we're checking in Dynatrace if the rules exist, and if not, we are pushing them.
Via the API?
Yeah, the API. So basically, we are pushing a standard name, and you'll see later on what we're going to do afterward.
Yeah, cool.
We have a lot of plans about it. So because we have those standard names, it will be allow us to do to grab the URL of the service flow or the pure path
and
or
then
anything
do
like
this,
this.
and then follow on with the tagging and everything else. Yeah, cool.
The other thing cool we do is also by default, Dynatrace group the traffic based on the URL. So if you hit say /carts, you will see /carts in Dynatrace, and all the statistics will group that. And when you do a load test, what happens is, I'd say I'm doing a load test, but there is a team in my same environment that do some manual testing, or they're running Selenium scripts, and in that group there, you see you're not sure if you have to filter to make sure that you only analyze the stuff. So what we're doing now, we are setting what they call in Dynatrace request naming rules.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the beginner
it's like scoping.
Yeah, it's a way that now the traffic that will be captured by NeoLoad will be named differently. So you will see /carts, but the /carts made by NeoLoad will be named differently. It will be name of the scenario, name of the transaction, and the URL. Which means then if you go to the diagnosis tools, I want to see the top request, or I can basically, if I look at that naming rule, I know that it's my NeoLoad traffic, and it's not something else.
For load testing in production, you can separate that traffic as well.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Excellent.
That's really great.
That's very cool.
And that's another one of those creative uses of the APIs.
Yeah.
I forget who we were talking to. Morgan, right? Chris Morgan. We was talking about
Red Hat.
Yeah, we was talking about OpenShift will reach its maturity when people are using it in ways they hadn't planned for, right? And tools have APIs, and suddenly people are starting to take really creative advantage of them.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome to see you doing that stuff. I love hearing this. This is awesome.
Yeah,
great.
very cool.
What else you got? Something else?
And just to point out, something that should not be overlooked, because you can see all of your load test results inside the Dynatrace console, this opens up the world of possibilities for remote analysis while tests are ongoing. You don't have to wait for tests to complete. You don't even have to have an analyst on site because that data is available on a worldwide basis. You can take advantage of an expert in a remote location that cannot fly in for the test and maybe even doesn't even know Neoload.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, the thing is, what is cool is if you imagine a pipeline with Jenkins with a build server, you have no UI. So if you want to see the metrics, you have to wait until the end of the test to see what happens in the dashboard.
Yeah.
And now with Neoload Web, now all the data that we are collecting, we're streaming it out to our platform, the dashboard.
Yeah.
So either it could be on-prem or in the SaaS. And basically, if you connect Slack to Neoload Web, then your dev team's got an alert saying, hey, there's load test running, by the way.
Yeah.
And the load test is finished. So you can click on the link, go to the dashboards, and once you're in dashboards, you see all the history. So you can see your live tests. And while the live test is running, I say, I'm not going to wait until the end of the test. I'm going to grab the metrics from the build number 1. And you select the history, and you drag and drop it, and you do live comparison. You don't have to wait in the other test. This is time-saving.
That's major
time-saving.
time-saving.
Very powerful feature, oft overlooked, and I think it's important to bring that up.
Yeah. Now, we have announcements today from Dynatrace around the developer free lifetime. And are there ways for people to get together with Neoload or Neoload Web and use the new developer license free for life kind of stuff? I mean, there's a trial for Neoload.
Is the Neoload community license aware of the developer edition?
I didn't know that.
This is the second idea that we're going to share with you. No charge, of course.
Because we have the freemium license. So basically, the developers has the developer license for Dynatrace, then you can use the community edition for the build. I mean, when you test the microservices, you don't need more than 50 users.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
So it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I haven't seen what the whole developer thing looks like, but we're just going based off the press release and what we're hearing here. But yeah, it sounds like they'll be able to do something with
a couple of agents
together.
And related to the developers, I think one cool thing is, I mean, Dynatrace is super powerful with the AI once they got the baseline. So if you're in a production environment, Dynatrace understands well what is the normal situation, what is not a normal situation, and opens tickets. So then, I mentioned before, that we have a configuration file where you can set those thresholds. Say, all right, so this is the rules that I want to set in Dynatrace in the AI. So if the response times of that service is higher than 100 milliseconds, or if the CPU reached that level, or whatever, it's a performance issue, or it's a big error, or whatever.
Yeah.
So Neoload takes that file, and then basically set the rule in the AI.
Yeah.
So while the test is running, Dynatrace open problems tickets. And then if you have the ServiceNow integrations or Jira integrations, you can open tickets.
Scheduled escalated,
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Great. You were going to say something. No. Here's the next thing I have for you. So along that same piece, you have the trajectory or the telemetry of an incoming release that you have estimation and prediction where your future thresholds will be adjusted upon the push of that release. And so you take the auto baselining piece that's in Dynatrace from an AI perspective already. You can do more forward, say, don't wait for the AI on this release. We know it's going to take twice the memory.
Yep.
So don't throw more, like we knew it was coming for like the last 2 weeks on this iteration or this sprint. So let's actually take that and predictively or proactively bump those thresholds and push it as part of the code.
Yep.
I don't know if that's something.
It's part because
it's there. You could just pull it out.
The anomaly rules. It's a JSON file that you hook in your code, so you can source control it. You can change it. So you can. It's go with your release. So it's going to be easy.
Yeah. So you're learning along the incoming vector of the new release coming in.
Now there's some danger in that.
Of course.
And that a developer may decide, well, I think this should be the new normal.
Because I can't do it better. So
but at least now we know who touched it and who to vote off the island.
Yes.
Right? Exactly. Awesome.
Speaking of islands,
but
mountains, islands,
Speaking of airplanes, I had to fly in an airplane to Vegas. No, speaking of airplanes, you will be flying back to France. Next week is the Neotys PAC.
Yes,
the Performance Advisory Council, the second meeting
The second physical edition.
Second physical
but this
edition.
is the third edition because you had the
We had a virtual
24-hour,
pack.
right? 20 was it 20
Yeah,
or
so
24?
we consider like two different events.
Okay.
Because the physical one is more, we bring experts, we want to bring open discussions,
Yes.
we want to see how we can improve things together.
But I just always have to bring up that 24-hour one because
Yeah, but it's going to be happening.
you were awake the whole time,
So-
so it was amazing.
So for those who want, so the next virtual one will be in September.
in September.
Okay.
So for those who want to hook with me and stay with me 24 hours, that will be cool. So at least
And are you still taking papers? There's a CFP for the virtual pack?
yeah.
Is there
No,
some?
the virtual pack we will open the papers later on. So at the moment
Okay.
it's
It's not
we
open
So
yet.
if you're
focus on the
listening
the
and you
physical
want to
one, yeah.
submit, get,
So plenty of
get
time
yourself
to
ready.
come up with an idea and,
Yeah.
and present.
But the physical one is going to be, where is it? It's in France now?
So yeah, we thought that we did Scotland last year with an awesome location. We said, how could we do better? So and we thought that January, it's snow, it's winter,
Yeah.
so why don't we go and do it in the Alps?
Let's go skiing in the Alps.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's gonna be Chamonix. In
Yeah.
Chamonix, so for those who doesn't know Chamonix, if you're familiar with the Mont Blanc,
Yes.
Mont Blanc is the summit of the
The
Alps.
famous pens.
It is as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen there. It goes close to Chamonix. So it's a challenge for the attendees because it's not the best location.
No, it's
to
remote, yeah.
to
But
reach.
that's sort of the lure of it. It's like the castle. This is unique experience.
Yeah, and the location is awesome. I mean, we have those very small chalet in the mountain. So I think it's going to be really.
That
really
sound-
cool.
that sounds
This
cool.
sounds
And
like
it-
something Spectre. It would be like a meeting of Spectre from James Bond. Would be in this little small thing. It's hard to get to, and then you find out the doors close and they don't open until you promise to improve your performance.
Wait a minute, now
with
you're
these-
scaring people. That's not.
No, that would be fun. You kidding me?
Would be fun to be trapped.
No, it would
Tortured?
like a whole James Bondy kind of thing, you know. And then you could
I
do
will
your
not
ski
volunteer
escape.
to go kill
You
Mr.
do your
White.
ski escape down the mountain.
Yeah, so we will take the 12 experts in the top of a summit of the mountain,
Throw them off.
and then we say, okay, now your mission is to go back to the chalet.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck. It has nothing to do with an assembler.
I'm glad I'm not there. I fall gracefully. I do not ski very
Yes.
well.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be cool. Now, there's 12
Yeah,
people, I
12
think,
experts. So
from all over the world.
most of the experts, there is a lot of experts that want in the virtual pack and in the physical one.
Yeah.
And we have quite new ones.
Yeah.
Good.
And so we're quite excited that we have new pack members.
Yeah, we have Leandro,
Yeah, Leandro.
our
And
amigo, yes.
By the way, Leandro, I saw your slides. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, he's good. We're glad to have him as a host, but he's excited to come
Yeah.
as well. Stephen Townsend, I think, is coming.
Yeah,
He's,
directly from
is
New
he
Zealand.
from Australia?
New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah, he's from New
Auckland.
Zealand.
And Srivali as well from Auckland will join
Yeah.
us.
Cool.
So and then we have Alexander Podelko.
Mr.
So
Podelko.
It's the only U.S. experts that will be at the chalet with us.
We're just lackeys. We made it halfway around the world for the Whopper. That's where we met Stephen the first time.
Yep.
But we have to make it to a pack. Just
Yeah.
these
definitely.
full-time jobs, they just get in the way of everything.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't get it. Why is so much pressure for?
Where are my priorities? Exactly. So that's really exciting. So this
Yes,
is happening next week, middle of the
Right.
week, 6th and 7th.
Yeah, 6th and 7th.
We'll do some live podcast wrap-up
Yeah.
stuff like we did
You're
last
going to
time.
be there podcasting?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll pull some people in,
remotely.
which would be cool. But then people can access some of the information after the fact, right?
Yeah.
So
So,
you-
first of all, there is before. So you can register to the pack, and you will receive the recorded sessions.
Okay.
Not lively, but a few days after.
a few days, 10 days
Yeah,
after. something like
and
that.
of course, like previously, we'll post blogs, post the content, the slides that has been shared.
Speaking of which, I still owe you a blog series from the virtual pack.
And
it's
let's-
in there somewhere. I just haven't
we should
written it
point
yet.
out the big topics that were in Scotland last year. I think the biggest topic was AI.
It was a big AI.
It was
wasn't it?
AI. So this year, I think there is a lot of joint topic about. I think it's a big trend. I mean, all
Yeah.
the continuous testing
Pipelines.
How can I take advantage of my data coming
Yeah.
from APM products?
Yeah.
So there will be a lot of similar presentations, but
Yeah.
I think it's not a theme, but it's good to have the similar discussion because at
Yeah.
least we can basically try to figure out a best approach.
Yeah.
And Andy is going to present something about why don't we build up a standard for the community.
Yeah.
So I think that will be very helpful.
We're behind that big time. That sounds cool.
And there is two talk about IoT. One of is Bruno Odu is going to do. He's going to share his experience on a project on a connected car. So it's. So I've been involved in. Not in the project directly, but I've been in touch with Bruno on this. So it's a really nice project, by the way. And then it will be. There will be another presenter that will talk about IoT as well. So. There will be, I think, two main topics to this year, mainly automation and pipeline, and the other one will be more IoT stuff.
That sounds great. Now, for people that are interested, they can go and register again at the website, and just Neotys, I think, /PAC or
/Performance
Advisory Council, one word. And then there's a hashtag. Of course, you can follow you on Twitter.
It's hashtag Neotys, Neotys PAC.
Yeah, so Neotys PAC. And then what's your there's the Neotys Twitter, but you're on Twitter as well as yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you
as his Lego self.
As your Lego self.
Yeah, Lego self.
Oh, meanwhile, where's all the Lego? Wait, give us your hashtag, your Twitter handle.
It's Henrik, so it's H Rexed.
H Rexed.
Right.
H Rexed.
Yes.
Now, before we came down here, there was a lot of talk about building a Lego UFO.
Yeah, I was expecting that someone bring the blocks, and I'm so disappointed. Yesterday I had my awesome Lego T-shirt about Trump building a wall. And
don't go there. It's terrible. It's not happening, I guess. But I think we start a GitHub repo with the plans, the Lego pieces, put the whole thing together. Let's create a Lego UFO.
That would be cool.
And because you can, the plans are already there for the. It's not Arduino. It's the other microboard with the controller and the LED strip. I have the parts. I just, I was like, we're going to be doing podcasting. I can't bring a soldering iron and all of this stuff. But it's a cool idea.
Yeah, and I think what would be cool is that if the pipeline breaks, then you have to break the UFO, and the guy who break the pipeline has to rebuild it again.
Yes.
So
has to rebuild the UFO. And the thing is, you also get alternate shapes. So you could make UFOs in different shapes and just lace the LEDs through the LED strip through it.
Yeah, we can sometimes build a car or change.
Here we go.
See,
I can hear it happening now already. Yeah. Awesome.
So that's a challenge for anybody out there. If you want to beat Henrik and Mark and James or anyone else to building this,
build a Lego UFO.
Build a Lego UFO, an operative one. So you have to get the wires all working, not just a Lego UFO. Obviously, Dynatrace Lego UFO.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah, but we just have to figure out pick the pictures. I think there's one color missing in the Lego.
Yeah.
So to fit with the Dynatrace logo, so we have to be creative.
Awesome.
I think.
Cool.
Okay.
Very cool. Henrik, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And thanks for your support.
Thanks again, guys.
everything.
It's awesome to see you guys
Thanks for
here.
everything you're doing with the load testing stuff and with the tools and all. It's really awesome.
Rock and roll.
Thanks.
Cool.
So I think I just saw that there is an arcade game from Pac-Man. So just to promote the Pac, I'm gonna go and play a bit on Pac.
It is. It's right over there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So we'll see you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Ciao.
Thank you. See ya.
It's finally done. Done.